Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jared Carl. I'm a global enterprise strategist from NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is the proud sponsor of the Austin Smart City Alliance. Many people know NVIDIA as a company that makes gaming cards, powering the PCs of the future, that make the games go faster and all of the pretty graphics that they appear. One of the things that many people don't know is that NVIDIA is actually a data platform company. The same technology that powers the video games, that powers those PCs and devices to make as beautiful pictures as possible. We also use that same technology to power many data center type solutions. Included in there are some really fascinating ones in regards to smart cities and smart spaces and how we can make a city a better place to live for everybody who is involved. One of the things when we look at the technology landscape is that smart cities are everywhere. The demand for smart cities is out there. Cities are looking for new ways to innovate using existing technologies, but also invest in their future for the capabilities they're going to be able to deliver a positive impact back to their citizens. If we look at across the nation, just 60,000 law enforcement agencies, 5,000 transport hubs, 25,000 schools, and over 1 million intersections and roadways. What this means is that everywhere that there is a space inside of a city, everywhere that there could be a camera that is monitoring the situation, we have an opportunity there to be able to solve many of the problems that many cities are facing, but also the institutions inside of those cities that may be working together to provide a better experience back to the population. So NVIDIA sees the problem as an intelligent video analytics problem. Many cities have spaces. All of these spaces typically are going to have cameras. You look at London, where it is the most connected city in the world, and they have cameras. They have people sitting behind desks watching these data streams come in. Well, if we can accelerate the time to insight on those data streams and make intelligent decisions based off of what we're seeing with the computer-aided eyeball, what we're going to see is we're going to see a drastically reduced time to incident response. And so what NVIDIA has done is that we've built a platform called Metropolis. The Metropolis platform is a solution framework that we let ISVs build their software on top of, and these ISVs leverage the NVIDIA GPU technology underneath it. But what this means to the end user, what this means to the city, what this means to the population, is that they are able to quickly adopt solutions that are plaguing cities now with technology that appears almost science fiction-like, but is very straightforward and easy for them to adopt. The reason we like Metropolis and we like the platform, and the reason why video analytics is really changing the future, is that it drives outcomes. It drives many things that city council members are talking about, mayors at the state level, even in the security departments of airports and police stations. What we are seeing is we're seeing major use cases come out of these areas. For example, safety and compliance. We want to make sure that OSHA violations are flagged before they happen. Somebody props up a ladder incorrectly, that person is immediately notified of a way to do it better. Hazardous material detection and cleanup. We want to make sure that those people are not exposed to unnecessary chemicals out there. But we also see it in crime, theft, and loss prevention. Remember a case study was done in New York where they tried to monitor how many people are actually skipping the turnstiles, and it was several million more than they were expecting. So we're already seeing abilities to do that now. We're also seeing it as parking spot monitoring. We're seeing it as capacity management inside of the intersections. So we talk about the city scale intelligence and optimization to make sure that those potholes can be prevented before they actually start damaging cars, but also to make sure that dangerous drivers are flagged for help and assistance. But we also make sure that roads are optimized for traffic flow and traffic lights do not unnecessarily hold up people. These are all very common use cases that we built the Metropolis platform to adopt and address right now inside of cities. So what is the Metropolis platform then? I think that is a great question, because what we've done is we've based it off of existing commodity hardware. NVIDIA partners with all of the major OEMs. Dell happens to be one of my major personal customers, so they're one of my favorites here in the Austin area. Using that commodity type hardware with an NVIDIA GPU inside of it, what we've done is we've built the Metropolis platform. So we've taken out the difficulty of having to write the software for every solution. We've taken the challenges out of integrating with the CUDA stack and integrating with the data science. What we've done is we've given the developers the capability to leverage all of the features that they need. So we use containers, we use Kubernetes, we use CUDA, which is the NVIDIA software programming language. We've taken care of all of that inside of the Metropolis platform to let these applications interface seamlessly with that hardware and the GPUs below it. And of course, we've integrated with the softwares and the VARs. So we make the software available through the standard companies when they create the software. And we also make sure that all of these vendors are tested and vetted and qualified, which means that one of the biggest problems that we see inside of cities is not being able to understand the scope and not being able to understand how well these solutions are going to size to their environment. It'd be nice to say that every city is exactly the same. I've lived in a couple of cities here in Texas, and I got to say, I love Dallas, I love Houston, I love Austin, and they're all very, very different. You can't tell me that the solution that works for Houston is going to be the exact same solution that works for New York. So what we've done with Metropolis is make sure that cities, when they start adopting these technologies, we know exactly how they're going to scale. We know exactly what the solutions they're going to be looking after for, and make sure that those solutions are applicable back to the city at a scale that is appropriate for them. So one of the important things that we've done is we make sure that we validate what the solution is. We also make sure that we're able to profile the solution. We make sure that we're able to understand what the solution is going to do with the video streams that are coming in from the city. This drastically shortens the time to adoption inside of a city solution. They're not being asked to go off and build software anymore. The city engineers can go back and understand exactly how these video analytic feeds are going to be able to scale inside of the environment. And of course, we do that in a containerized environment. We do that inside of with Kubernetes and other profiling and scheduling platforms. Because what this means is when we look at an entire city, they're just not a data center, right? The entire city is a spanned network of IoT type sensors, of cameras sitting out there. So we make sure that we have an edge strategy. NVIDIA uses their own platform called EGX, and this is an edge strategy platform that makes sure that all of these devices that go out there are managed securely from end to end with industry standard technologies. So we're not saying go off and buy this piece of software that uses a particular specialized solution deployment. No, we firmly believe in using the containers. We firmly believe in making sure that all of these performance capabilities are well understood from the beginning so that there's no mystery when cities start adopting these solutions. One of the things I mentioned was being able to quickly deploy with containers. We always want to make sure that we can accelerate that time to value to make sure that when a city adopts this, that it's just not a POC that lives in a lab or monitoring the parking lot outside of the IT department. What we end up coming up with are container-based solutions that are deployed from a centralized cloud management portal. What this means is that cities are able to have repeated installations of the same solutions inside of their city infrastructure without having to worry about any sort of code drift, without having to worry about unsecured deployments, and it integrates very seamlessly with the technologies that they're already doing. And then, of course, from the NVIDIA standpoint, right, we test this, we scale this, we really try to understand what the cities are looking for, and we make sure that when they're able to deploy these solutions, that they're not doing anything out of the ordinary of what they're already challenged with already. I talk to cities on a pretty regular basis and listen to some of the problems that they are having. And what's very interesting is many cities actually have very similar problems. Whereas the difference between the cities in Texas may be unique, they're all trying to build some of the platform that's trying to solve a lot of these basic problems. With the cameras being everywhere, cameras being a data stream coming into the centralized management system, we can collect that data and start solving problems with it now. Some of the interesting features that we're seeing, for example, is the bag left behind scenario, where you're working in an airport and a bag is left and the person wanders off. Is that a threat to the airport, or is it just a forgetful person? When we think about America, we always talk about airports, right? That's our primary mode of transportation, not recently. But we also see it in railways overseas, subway stations, boat terminals. We also can see this in stadiums. If we can reunite that back with the owner, that is fantastic. But if we can also prevent a potential threat to the people around it, that's even better. Another area that we have is parking enforcement, right? Cities generate a lot of revenue from parking fines and tracking cars. If we can recognize those license plates and how long they've been there and accelerate that time to revenue for the city, while that's a little painful to us as the average user of the city parking spots, that's a positive impact back to the city themselves. And of course, finally, one of the interesting ones is tripwire zone analytics. We have secure areas in every city, areas where they're not supposed to go into, areas where they want to be alerted where there's an unauthorized access. Being able to segment off those areas and give alerts on when somebody crosses in there, that is something that we can do today and prevent potential problems with law enforcement having to over respond to a situation, but actually alert them proactively that there's somebody loitering in an area where they shouldn't. We can address a lot of problems before they become them. So who are some of these mysterious software partners? The ones listed here, we've already tested inside of our labs. We already have deployed out in the wild in several different cities and several different open spaces. We're working on this list to improve it continuously, and we keep that list updated at the link there at the bottom. Feel free to go browse out there. But I think what's most important is we've identified these ISVs as what areas that they're going to be able to play well in. What is the best solution area for them to go work off in? It's a pretty fragmented market right now, but we've seen many of these ISVs already come out and prove themselves to be very effective at weapon detection, at parking management, at other areas where the cities can need an immediate return on investment. So, of course, I have a difficult time walking into a customer and telling them that they need to go buy the solution because it's the best thing on the planet. And what happens then is they go, well, who has deployed it? So we're not selling vaporware here. What we're talking about is we are talking about real solutions in real cities that have already been deployed. And this one's fascinating in Dublin because it was talking about law enforcement and how the video analytics solution integrated a force multiplier and saved 65 investigator hours per incident. That is a reduce of cost to the city, but that is also an increased capability of the city to serve their population. That means that these crimes are getting solved quicker, and that means that the video that they're already recording is being leveraged to its maximum capacity. What this means is when an incident happened, that their time went from 3 hours to 20 minutes. That means that they accelerated their time to resolution, and they were able to solve these cases a lot faster than what was happening before. Of course, not every city is going to advertise the technology that they're adopting, but we do have a large mass transit agency in California who addressed $25 million in losses. Remember earlier when I mentioned turnstile jumping at subway stations and at payment terminals? There's a case study of where we have somebody who actually has already done it. Now, what I find most interesting about this is not the increase in revenue, but they're actually able to improve the sentiment of people's opinion of the station by using the cameras. They're able to understand where people are congregating. They're able to understand what the social patterns are, and they're able to return a better experience back to their users of the station just by implementing new IVA technology that's in there. So if you can save money or actually recover more money and improve customer sentiment, it's a pretty neat solution. People are one thing, but counting cars is different. They're governed by a different set of laws and different rules as they travel through the city. So what we've done is we've worked with many different cities and many different vendors to understand how to optimize that rate of flow and how to reduce the fatalities and congestion that happens in the city. Every city I've ever been to has always said, oh, our traffic here is the worst. Very few cities I've been to have said, we actually have a solution for that using cameras that's going to optimize our traffic lights and make sure the congestion is optimized for the time of day. That's a pretty intuitive solution. One of the greatest problems that we have is identifying the use cases that can really start having a positive impact on the cities that we live in. By using the Metropolis platform and NVIDIA technology, what we've seen is that we have the capability of addressing many common problems now that build a platform for the future that's going to adopt and change as the technology improves and as cities go to more of a smart space. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have.